is there anything specific that you would encourage leaders specifically to do to keep themselves staying hopeful?
Well, I'll just be blunt. One is to stay off of social media if it's draining you of that energy and focus, because sometimes, and I love social media when it's used for celebration, but if it's used to beat people up or to, create toxicity, then I would ask you first to think about, what do I intentionally want to be able to place in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
And what conversations do I intentionally want to be engaged in, so that I'm not being driven by the algorithms that push people to chaos and crisis and anger and all those things that are happening with digital technology. And so, and here we are using digital technology to talk to each other, and you and I looking for resources and sharing things together and learning from each other. So you can use it for the good. The question is just, how are you going to use it for the good? And I would also say that part of it, and you talk about this in your book, I love this so much about your book, Brandy, is what are the habits that you're willing to create? And those habits begin first with your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And those thoughts become the ideas or the words that you use. They become the actions, and then they become those routines in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, especially when I'm working with leaders, I just love to invite leaders to give themselves permission to strategize for themselves the outcomes that they want to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because you spend so much time, if you're listening to this, strategizing for other people's success.
Right.
And so whether that's a master schedule, whether that's the school calendar, whether that's a learning plan for students, whether that's a graduation plan, and we can do the same things for us. And so, in my newest book, Whose Permission Are You Waiting For? An Educator's Guide to Doing What You Love, I talk in that book about several different strategies. One of them I call backward mapping,
Mm-hmm.
which is, okay, what is the ideal outcome that I would like to achieve? And you can fill in the blank by the end of the school year, or within my career within the next 3 years, or for my family's next vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then put a space on the map, on the calendar, where by this time period, I want to have achieved it. And then backward map, give yourself timelines and benchmarks and action steps that you can be taking to get there. Even when I wrote that book, I sat down a year, actually 2 years in advance, and I began to brainstorm the chapter titles, the objectives I wanted to reach. I came up with 20 specific title areas that I wanted to try to develop. And so I put them on my calendar so that I could be writing in advance toward those goals. And I knew, because I had put the end of when I wanted it to be to an editor for proofing, of when I was going to reach those goals. So backward mapping is just one way. There's lots of different ways, but that's just one way that's been really helpful for me in being intentional about looking at the season I'm going to step in and planning ahead for the achievement I want to be experiencing, not just the challenges I want to be solving.